Everything from clothing to household items are getting more expensive each day. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. Support American-made, tariff-free clothing with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at american-giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code STAPLE20 at american-giant.com.
Work takes up most of your time. That's why you should use Stamps.com to save time with your mailing and shipping, and have flexibility to focus on more important things. Stamps.com can handle all your mailing and shipping needs with rates up to 88% off USPS and UPS. Add flexibility to your day with Stamps.com. Go to Stamps.com/program to sign up for a special offer. No contract, cancel anytime. That's Stamps.com/program.
From the office to a first date, there's a lot of pressure to wear the right clothes for every situation. But clothes don't make the man. With Mack Weldon, you can build a wardrobe that looks polished in any setting and tells the world that you stay you wherever you go. They combine timeless style with modern performance materials to keep you looking good and feeling comfortable all day, no matter what's on today's agenda. Browse everything from shorts and polos to sweats and crews. Go to MackWeldon.com and get 25% off your first order of $125 or more with promo code MACK25. That's MackWeldon.com, promo code MACK25.
If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators. Today, we have a special guest.
Alayna Bell Price. Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for coming on. I'm so excited to talk to you. Wow, your resume and the things that you've done, amazing. I love just impeccable. I must go back to the beginning, though. I love always going back to the beginning. I think that's kind of like how everything starts, like the little things that we pick up in our childhood that kind of follow us into our adulthood. So tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And kind of how did you find your way into doing the things that you're doing now?
Yeah. So I grew up in a suburb of Chicago, Glenview, Illinois. And
Nice.
it's a very conservative little small bubble, as I say. And I always just kind of wanted to break the mold. And I always wanted to be different. I think very much the people that are from there were kind of taught to go to school, get a degree, get a job in corporate America, have a family, that type of
Yep.
thing. And I was kind of like, that's not really for me.
Right.
So, even like when I was very little, I was always telling people what to wear and being bossy and saying like, oh, you can't wear that. No, you can't do this. Or I would be like 5 years old in the shoe department of like Marshall Fields being like, oh, mom, don't you think we need these heels? And I'm asking a woman for them in a size 8. I'm clearly not a size 8.
Yes.
Just that's just kind of how I was as a child. And then just, when I was young, my great grandmother, who's, was a really big influence on my life, she unfortunately had to have both of her legs amputated. And she
Oh, I'm
needed
sorry.
help with a lot of things. Yeah. And she needed help with a lot of things. And one of those things was every Sunday we would get ready for church and she needed the best outfit. And I was in charge of that. I was
I
making
love
sure,
that.
yeah, I was, making sure she had the best thing. So it kind of all like my passion for that kind of started there. And when I was in high school, I took a fashion course that kind of like opened my eyes to the possibilities of the fashion world. Because
Nice.
like I said, it wasn't really it's not seen as a job where I grew up. That wasn't a
Right.
real career path. If you're not a doctor or a lawyer or you're in corporate America or something, it wasn't a real thing. So that really piqued my interest. And from there, I, moved on and went to Clark Atlanta for 2 years and majored in fashion merchandising. And then transferred and went to Columbia College, Chicago, and majored in fashion business. And that's how I learned about costume design.
Nice. Wow. How was that process? Like, how was that going to school for that? I mean, I don't know what that looks like, but I'm sure was that like
You know,
exciting when you first got in there and you're like, whoa, I'm here.
yeah, Clark Atlanta was like wonderful. I loved the being immersed in the Atlanta fashion culture. But then when I transferred and went back to Chicago, I think what was great is that we had the theater and the film aspect
Yeah,
incorporated into it because it's more of an art school.
gotcha.
And then I got to learn about all the other realms of how fashion can connect into these other things, not just the business side of fashion.
Mm.
I will say, like, I wasn't the best student because I was very adamant on working while I was in school, and I wanted to get out there and do it. So I started my own styling company when I was 19, and
Wow.
yeah, and I just started styling, and I started with retired NFL players, and then moved on to Miss Illinois USA, just helping out 2 years in a row those pageant contestants, and it was
Nice.
amazing, but of course my schoolwork kind of fell by the wayside, but it's okay. That's fine. I was getting the street smarts, as I like to say, the
Exactly.
education.
I think that's so important. And it takes that, right? To
Hmm.
that like, that unconventional way, quote unquote, of like pursuing that. I think that is the groundwork that's going to add to when you do other things. I think that just adds to the pressure when you're in those, like, really in those rooms and you have like deadlines and you have to style everybody. It's like,
Yeah,
that's amazing at 19. Like, you had that kind of go-getters mentality. I think that's what it takes.
yeah, yeah, it really does. And I think that's something you can't really learn in a textbook. That's something you've got to like get out there and experience real world, just for it to happen. That's not something that can be taught, I feel like, in school. And I'm not against school. Obviously, I still got my degree, but I just am like,
Yeah.
I really had to. I'm a person, and I feel like a lot of creators where we just have to get out there and do it. Like reading it in a book isn't isn't for us. We need something like tangible. We want to get in,
Yeah.
we want to get our hands dirty, we want to do that. So that's really what I did. And then there's a program in our school where you could do a semester in LA, and I was like, yes, sign me up. I want to go out to LA.
For
And I
sure.
got to learn more about costume design, but also during that course, I got a job interning for a TV show in the
Nice.
costume department. And of course, my coursework fell by the wayside. But it taught me, like, it got me, I came out here hungry because I really wanted to stay in LA. That was the biggest thing for me. And I didn't necessarily have like parents that were always like, here's all the money you need, blah, blah, blah. I had to really fight for it.
Right.
My family is very much, if you want something, you got to do it yourself. If this
Yeah.
is what you want to do, you have to do it yourself. And I'm very appreciative of that. So I really had to work. And when I
Yeah.
came out here, I was like, I can't just take a class. I've got to get a job. I'm trying to stay. I'm trying to stay
Yeah.
here. Yeah, So I got an internship on a TV show, and from that led me to getting a actually paid job on a movie as a costume production assistant. And I was like, that was the goal for me. The
Yeah.
grade, yes, of course the grade, but the goal for me was to make the connections I needed to stay out here.
And that's what it's about, right? Connection and putting yourself out there. And like, I think that's what I've noticed with a lot of creatives. It's like, that is the through line, when getting out there, putting yourself out there, meeting the people, making those connections. It's not, they say, yeah, it's great to have the degree and have that, but it's who you know, really.
Yeah, it really is. It's the connections, because it's like in our business, especially the film business, it's like you get your next job based on your last job. I feel like that's just what it is. It's about if these producers you've worked with, they like you, they're bringing you on to the next show.
Yep.
or the actors that you worked with, that they love you, they're bringing you on to their movie, or that's really what it's about. And it's about, you know, um, just really working hard to show people, like,
I can
this
do
is where,
this.
yeah, I can do it. And
Yeah.
I feel like I had a lot to prove coming out here, because it's a pool of how many, creatives.
It's a lot. It's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that's what yeah, like you said, it's because I mean everybody you meet, right, in California, it's like, hey, I'm a this too. I'm a this too.
yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah,
you're an
yeah.
actor too, right?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
holy
Everybody's a
crap.
stylist, everybody's an actor, everybody's a, so it's like, yeah, it was hard for me to come out here and be like, yeah, I'm a stylist. I'm like, I've got to, got to do more. I got to have, I got to show something for it. So I really, 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 I worked for free on a lot of things. I did a lot of editorial things, for gas money, basically, or I did student films, just to get those credits and make those connections.
So that would you say that's really important because I think a lot of people, a lot of creatives are like, oh, I don't want to like. When do you know when the cutoff of like doing free jobs or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes you can get stuck in that world. Well, it's in some sense, but like you said, you have to build that resume. That's like,
Yeah. Yeah, you're starting off entry level. It's like any career field. You're not just gonna walk through the door and be a doctor. You're gonna have
right,
to put the work in. You're gonna have to intern. You're gonna have to do. It's the same thing as I see it. It's basically like you're doing internships. And yeah, you're working hard and things like that. And you should at least be compensated for gas or something. But
yeah,
you know, it's a part of it. That's how you build the credits. That's how you make the connection. And you have to realize that's where it goes. And if they don't pay you this time, they'll have something down the road where they will, or they know somebody that has another job and they'll say, hey, this person's really great.
yeah,
Do you want to hire them on your next paid job or something like that? So
yeah.
it
No,
it's
I love
hard
that.
because a lot of people do take advantage, but it's like you have to have the, I guess, discernment to know, like, when you're being taken advantage of or when you're
Hmm.
actually just trying to gain experience.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
there's a big difference, 100%, 100%. So
Mhm.
so now that you're on this big movie, you get this cost this job.
Yeah.
Like what is that like? You did it. Like what is the day like in your world?
Yeah. So, yeah, I got a job as a production assistant on, I'm sure I can say what it is, right? But it's Magic Mike. It was Magic Mike Double XL. That was my first job
I
here in
love
LA.
it.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it was
It's like, hey
my
mom,
first
I'm
job
making
and
it.
my first job, and I just everybody was so lovely and they were very
That's
patient
great.
with me. I was still new.
Yeah.
Um, and it just, I learned so much. I learned about LA because LA is such a big place and you really have to know where to go, where to get these things, where to do this. And I just was so appreciative of that job. Um, and then from there, once that job was over, I got more production assistant jobs. And then that ultimately led to me getting into the union here as
Yeah.
a costumer instead of a costume designer. I got in as a costume.
Awesome.
Uh,
Congrats.
yeah, thank you. And then it was just a few years of me working like that, and then I got on to the TV show I am on now, 911. And I started as a costumer. I was on the truck. I was in charge of just setting up everybody's clothes and
Hmm.
steaming and making sure they had on the shirts the right way and stuff like that. That was my job.
Love
And
it.
continuity. Yeah. And it was fine. And then after season one, the designer came up to me and she said, you really should think about designing. And I said, really? It's like, I think at that point I was maybe like 23 or 24. And I
Oh,
was like,
bless.
yeah, I was like, okay, maybe down the road, sure. She's like,
Yeah.
yeah, just mention it. You never know. And from there, I, mentioned it to our boss and my mentor, Lou Eyrick, who's a genius. She basically has designed all of Ryan Murphy's television shows. And so,
Love it. Love
behind
it.
Glee, American Horror Story, she's amazing. Um, and I mentioned it to her, and she said, let's have you shadow and see how you like it. And then I got to assistant design season 2 of the show.
Nice.
and yeah, I made it through that. And it was a lot of like imposter syndrome because I was like, what am I doing? What I have, I've never done this before. Oh
I
my.
love that.
But I just really tried to mask it. And then season 3, they asked me to design. And at that point I was 25 years old. And
Wow.
you want me? You're like, me? The little girl from Chicago? Sure.
Right, right.
And I was like, okay, I'll do it. I was terrified.
I
Um,
bet.
but here I am, and we're gonna start season 8 soon. So
Wow, isn't that something? It really, that's such a testimony. Like it's so important. Like you said, it's like I'm sure we do have those moments of like we work on something, we work towards something, and then we get those opportunities to be in those rooms. And you're like, wait a minute, wait, you want me to do this? But you've been working your way to
yeah,
that. It
yeah,
makes sense. It's like the natural progression.
yeah,
But I think it is kind of scary and daunting at first to like take on that responsibility. You're like, holy crap, am I really ready? But yeah, you have everything already. The tools are already within you. I just love that you just stepped out on that faith and kept it going. Like, because that's really what it's about. Like, I don't know if anyone who's it's so funny. I remember like I worked on a Billy Idol shoot and like I
mhm,
had to pinch myself. I was like, holy crap, this is like Billy
mhm,
freaking Idol. Like, what the heck? What do we do? What am I doing here? Like it's like,
yeah,
but it's literally that thing of like saying yes and being
yeah,
open
yeah,
to whatever life throws.
yeah, yeah. I have those like pinch me moments all the time, at least once a
Right.
week, where
Right.
I'm what's going on? Where I'm just like, even like my interactions with Angela Bassett, who's our
Oh,
star,
I
I'm like,
love her. Oh,
I just am like, every time I'm like, did I just say hello to her? I have way
you're
more
like, wait.
conversations. I know, but I have to think about it. I'm like, or she calls me on the phone, I'm like, is Angela Bassett calling me on the phone? I have to like think about it. I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, okay, Alayna, come back down to earth. But sometimes I just have to think about it. And we've been working together for so many years, but
Yeah.
it shocks me every time that I'm working with legends on,
Yeah.
and it's just like insanity that I'm here. And I just like it all happened so fast.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like it was just like, what? And I think the biggest thing for me in having to like navigate it is just really trying to have the confidence, even though it's
Mm,
imposter syndrome. Like I said, it's like at first I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. But
yeah.
I really had to talk myself into like, no, you've got this. You could do it. You got this.
Yeah.
And commanding respect too. That was one of the biggest pieces of advice my mom gave me was, when you enter a room, you want people to know who you are and you command the respect just with your presence and
Yes.
that and how you speak and everything, and don't be timid, don't shrink. And when you're in a room of people that don't look like you, that's very common. I'm one of a lot of people, and first
Yeah.
I was the only Black department head for a while, and
Wow.
it was just, and definitely the only Black woman department head for a while. And then, it was intimidating because I'm like, here I am, a Black woman, 25 years old, going,
Yeah.
telling a team of 20 people what to do.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's intimidating. It's daunting, but I really had to just suppress it and go for it.
Wow. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Do you feel like that's changing now that, I mean, you've been doing it for some years now, it's quite some
Yeah.
time. Have you
Yeah.
seen any changes as far as like in that department of diversity?
hmm Yeah. Definitely. Absolutely.
It's
Yes.
good. It's
We,
great.
we really, and I always speak up, like I really make it a point to just want more diversity, and our cast makes it a point, and our producers make it a point. Like it's it's to the point now where there's no excuse. There's no
Yeah.
excuse anymore, and it's just we're growing like leaps and bounds, and there's so many talented people. But what I found in the film industry is that sometimes people of color get pigeonholed to one type of show
I
and one type of
see.
thing, and
Uh-huh.
it's hard because you don't have those contacts outside of it. You have your
Mm,
people, you work with these people, you've known these people, and you stay in that realm. But
Mm,
going outside and doing other things and working with other people, is hard. But one of the things that I love about working in Ryan Murphy Television is they're very big advocates for all type of diversity, and
yeah,
hiring everyone, and being very inclusive, and that's
that's
what I
great.
love. Yeah, that's what I love about working here.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. So so has there been moments in the journey of, and I'm sure that you've like said, I mean, we're not always on Mount Rushmore every time. We're not feeling great, the best. What kind of centers you to get back on track? Like, what do you, is there like a ritual you do? Is there like mantras you do to just like kind of stay centered in this really weird, busy world of entertainment?
Yeah. One of the big things I do is I talk to my mom. Everybody knows me now.
Oh my God, I love
Yeah.
that.
I talk to my mom at least 5 times a day. Um,
Oh,
I just have to, and when I get overwhelmed, or when I get, flustered, or when I start to lose sight of it, there's days where I'm like, "I don't wanna do this anymore,"
yeah.
and I'm just really tired, and I really just call her, and she is such a amazing life coach, and, such a great mentor besides just being my mother, and also one of my best friends. So, she
Oh,
always has the right
okay.
thing to say, even if you don't want to hear it. She always has the right thing to
Shout
say.
out to mom.
Yeah, so I appreciate her because she really just keeps me grounded, and
Yeah.
and brings me back to life, and keeps me going. She's very good at encouraging. So,
Oh,
and then I try to unplug too, like when I get home as much as I can. Listen, we're
yeah.
on call 24/7 here, basically.
Right. Right.
I try to unplug when I get home, and I just watch, simple television, and just really like relax, and try to just take my mind away from everything. That's the other thing
Yeah.
I try to do.
That's good. No, I love that. I have a fun question.
Yeah.
If you could like sit under a designer that,
Mhm.
something that you've looked up to, or, and just you get like for a couple years and you get to just be around them, be in their world, who would it be and why? Living or dead?
Oh.
Living or dead?
Ooh. Well, there's 2. One of them I'm
Ooh,
already kind of doing that.
that's
And
awesome.
Blue Irick is a genius. I mean, she is a genius, and she is a powerhouse, and her work ethic is, I mean, incomparable. Like, I don't even know how she does it. And she just, her vision, like, is just, I could call her for anything, and she'll just be like, "Oh, why don't you put this, and this, and this?" And it just comes to her like that.
Wow.
I'm just in awe. And I mean, I grew up like watching Glee and American Horror
Yes.
Story, and like, Hotel with Gaga and all these things. And she's responsible for all of that. And it's like,
Wow.
and she just did this show, Feud, Capote with the Swans, and it was, the costumes are just gorgeous.
Wow.
She is just, I mean, the fact that I even get to breathe the same air as her is like a lot for me. The other person I would say is Michelle Cole, who
Mm,
I love and adore. And she has done In Living Color. She's done so
yeah.
many great Black classics. Blackish is like, responsible for all of the clothes on Blackish and Grownish, and
Nice.
everything. She's just such an amazing person. And I haven't had the opportunity to work for her, and I would love to, because she's just
It's
such,
gonna happen.
yeah, I would love to. And she's just such a genius, and she's just amazing. Even just to sit down and have a conversation with her, I adore her work. So,
I
yeah,
love that.
Michelle Cole would definitely be the other person.
Awesome. So what's your process like when you get up, like, the project in front of you and you have the details, like what's the first thing that you do when it comes to like walk me through that world? Like what do you do? Are you like how I'm just curious of all the things that you do that your job
Yeah,
entails.
yeah. So, usually, like, we get a script or an outline, or something that kind of, or a deck, that kind of tells us what the project is. If I'm interviewing for it, usually they give like a little snippet of the script, or they might give like
Nice.
little things about the characters, and from there, I usually create a deck and a mood board that kind of compiles each character, with their color palette, with their silhouettes, with the textures that they would wear.
Nice.
The other thing I really like to do in my decks is that I like to create a world first, based on what I've seen or what I think the script is. I like to paint the picture around it because I feel like
Nice.
that's important. And then I do the characters, by board of what I think they look like, based on what I've read, just reading in between the lines. Um,
Nice.
and then, if I already have the job, so my day-to-day process, like here on 911, is I get the script, and I sit down with my supervisor and my assistant designer, and we, go through and figure out how many outfits we need for this person. And then if they're guest stars, new characters, I would do a deck or a board for each character of what I think that character should look like. And I send it off to the producers, and we have a meeting and discuss, if I'm on target or not. um, and then I take that deck. It's very helpful to have that because that is the visual piece that you would give to your shoppers that go out and
Gotcha.
actually get the clothes for you, because
Go
you
get the
can't
clothes.
necessarily always do that. I
Yeah.
love to go out and shop if I have the time. I prefer it. Like on this show, I pretty much shop the entire main cast by myself. I tried to. My
Nice.
designer and I really tried to, because
That's amazing.
it's just easier for me because I know
Yeah.
what I want. It's so hard sometimes to shop for other people and try to read between the lines. Like, and try
Mm,
to when you're trying to describe to a shopper exactly what you want, it's hard because you know what you want, but it's hard to put it into words. So I
yeah.
feel like decks are very, very helpful because they can see it. They're like, I know who this person is. And so, for our main characters, usually I have a little bit of a closet built, and I'll assign the character or assign the looks to a scene. And then for the guest stars, when the shopping comes in, I look at it, we put the outfits together, we do the fitting, I get those photos approved, and then it goes on to camera. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of research. It's a lot of inspiration boards, mood boards. It's a lot of notes and figuring out things. And the other thing that's really big on this show is we do a lot of like action packed. I always say it's a
Yeah.
movie episode. It's a lot of
Yeah.
action things. So like we did the cruise this season. We did the cruise crash and cruise capsizing, and we needed a million of one outfit.
Oh man.
Like Angela
Wow.
Bassett wears this beautiful purple shirt. And I'm telling you, we probably have like 25 of them. There's so many. But it's,
Yeah.
we have to go out and get a bunch of those things and figuring out how many we need, and then aging them because we don't necessarily shoot in order. So sometimes
Right.
we'll start
Out
the
of
day with
sequence.
her, post her being in the water. So we have to figure out what that shirt looks like after it's been wet, dried, and shriveled. So it's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts.
I love
And
it.
yeah, it's great. I enjoy it because it's like a puzzle every day. It's just like putting together the pieces, and also I enjoy it because I'm naturally bossy. So I
Wait, what's your sign? What's your
I'm
sign?
an
I'm so
Aquarius.
curious.
I'm an
Wow.
Aquarius. Yeah,
It makes sense.
yeah, I'm an
Okay.
Aquarius. Yeah, so I am naturally bossy, and so it's great to be like, okay, you go here, you do this, you go here, you do
Yeah.
this. So that's pretty much my day to day.
I love that. I love that. So you work really well under pressure. I do too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do
I
too. I like it
I
actually.
I don't know what it is, but I'm attracted to like chaos. I don't know why, but it just it's just chaos is just like best friends with me right now. I don't know. So we just,
Oh
I
my
like it. I
God.
like being under pressure. I'm like, yeah, it's
Me
a
too.
challenge. Just go for it. Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. When it's like not chaos. It's so weird. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's like a I don't know, but I find myself doing really good when it's like we're like down at the wire. I don't know why. Like I wait till last minute to like just pump out great stuff. I'm like, yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
why, but
yeah,
when I have
yeah,
time, I'm just like, I'll get to it. My friends are like,
yeah. I'll
what are
get
you
to it.
talking about? You got to read the
Yeah, or there's
script
nothing
and
to do. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm so bored. I just sit there and
right.
watch. So that's one of the things I like about this show is there's never a dull moment here, and there's always something to do, and
Yeah.
we're always under pressure. We're always gunning for it, but it's good. We pull it off, so it's great.
No, I mean the fact that the seasons tell it all. I mean, the show's been just killing it, and Angela Bassett, just the fact that she's carrying this such a. I'm just so
Yeah,
happy for her, to see,
yeah, yeah,
she's been acting for many years. I remember what is it? Was it the Tina Turner movie that she
yeah.
did?
What's
Oh
my
my
person? It
God,
was
like oh,
I think.
like
Funny
amazing,
fact,
amazing.
I made almost everybody on my staff watch that movie.
I love that. Yes, yes,
I said, if you're gonna
yes.
work on this show with this legend, you need to watch this movie. That's how it's gonna go.
Facts,
You just gotta,
facts.
yeah, you have
One
to
of her
watch.
best performances of all time.
Oh
And
my
like this,
God.
oh my God,
Yeah,
an amazing woman, and she doesn't age. Like I don't. Do
she
you
does
know the
not.
secret of her youth? I don't know. You've been
I,
like, have you asked her? Like, is there a
I ask
fountain of
her
youth
every
that
day
drinks?
because I get frustrated every day. I look at her and I'm like, how is it? You are so gorgeous every single day. Like she's just perfection. I ask her every day, but she has no secrets. She's just Angela Bassett. There's no secrets there. There's nothing. There's nothing
Amazing.
special that she does. She's Angela Bassett. That's all we need
I
to know.
That's all we need to know. I love that. I love that. What what advice would you give to those out there, that those young dreamers that are trying to do what you're doing one day? What advice would that be?
I would say don't listen to other people. Just go for what's in your heart. Go for what you're going for. And I think it's very easy to get the outside noise, and let it get to you and let it deter you from what you're trying to accomplish. And I think it's just important to just turn it off. Just tune that out and keep going. Keep your head down and just keep going. The other thing, and I think this is like definitely for my generation and below, is like um, we have a tendency to want to get somewhere fast. We
Mm,
want to just get to that top tier success, and we want to get there today. We want to be famous today. We want to be, the president of a company today. We want to be rich today, and it doesn't work like that. Not for everybody. There may be a few people that you may see on TikTok that may somehow did it. That's fine, but it doesn't necessarily work like that. And I think the generation that are older than us know that hard work, it takes hard work to get where you are. And you see, like, if your parents have been working for a company for 35 years and they're slowly climbed up the ladder, that's sometimes what it takes. It just
yeah,
you have to be patient with yourself. You have to be patient with the process, and you have to trust the process. And you have
yeah,
to know that it's going to require hard work and time to just get to
absolutely.
where you're trying to go. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I think people need to realize is just have that patience and let it happen naturally.
I love that. Thank you. That's such a beautiful answer. Yes, yes, patience is so key.
Yeah.
I literally was talking to my friend's daughter. She wants to be like this really big model. I'm like, that is the most toughest
Yeah.
industry.
Yeah.
Like you're the product.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
say goodbye to that old life you had, because that's like now you're owned by someone, because that's what it is. But if as long as you stay focused, and I was like, nothing happens overnight. As long as you love it, I think that's all that matters. And you know, you can do it, but it's a tough one. It's a tough business to get into.
Yeah,
And so
it is.
these
Yeah.
kids are something.
Yeah, it's social media. I sound like I'm 95 years old, but I blame social media because it's very hard. You see people on TikTok. Like I love a TikTok. Okay, I'm on TikTok all the time. But you see people on TikTok that have these amazing lives and they're just jet setting and they're doing all these things and you're like, oh, I want to do that. I want to,
Yep,
or there's this influencer that's going to Paris Fashion Week and walking in these fashion shows or whatever, and it's like, oh, I want to do that, but you don't see the behind the scenes of what it took them to get there. So I think
exactly.
that's what we have to remember is that it's not just happening overnight. That these people are also working. and going
Right.
and giving up everything to do that.
To do it. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Oh, where can people find you on social media to follow everything you got going
Oh
on?
yeah. So on Instagram, I'm Alayna Bell Price on there. I think that's really all. Instagram. I don't have Twitter anymore or whatever it's called. X. I don't have that anymore. But yeah, Alayna Bell Price on Instagram. Yeah, follow me.
Nice. Cool. Are you on TikTok doing any like those TikTok dances?
No, I
Nah.
just scroll TikTok, honestly. You do not want to see me do a TikTok dance. No. I'm really like 95
Oh,
in
man.
my heart. So I just like scroll on TikTok. That's it. That's
Yeah,
really
it's addicting. I agree. It's whew, I find myself in the Instagram little thing. I'm like, I gotta go to bed. I gotta go to bed.
yeah, that it is
Uh,
addicting. I have to like put my phone down sometimes and just not indulge. But
right.
it's really like it's hard because there's so much good stuff. You learn so
So
much.
much.
You learn
I
so
tag
much.
my friends. I'm like, look at this video. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning. Like
Yeah,
Meosha.
you learn. I
Making stuff.
basically planned my entire wedding off TikTok. So thank you, TikTok.
Wow.
Yeah, I learned so
Amazing.
much about wedding planning from TikTok. So I'm great. That's great.
Hey, there we go.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you. It
Well,
was
thank
so
you for
wonderful.
having me. It was a pleasure talking to you too. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time.